Good morning.
Good morning.
We are extremely pleased that you are here. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creation. Do you agree? You're knowing what you are wanting. An evolving thing, yes? You are among the rare humans who are appreciating the contrast of your time and place. We always set you up for that big fib. You do know that you are extensions of source energy. Extensions of source energy, here on the leading edge of thought. What a nice place to be. In fact, it is the best place to be. In fact, that which is non-physical is here with you. In fact, not just now, but always. So here you are, source energy, expressing yourself in this physical body. And as you are moving through your experience, you give birth to constant new desires, preferences, ideas. You can't help it. The format of your exposure to life causes that to happen constantly. So your desire emanates from you. And this is the part that we want you to hear and remember, that we know so clearly and most of you have forgotten. As that contrast causes you to give birth to another rocket of desire, the non-physical part of you becomes that now. In other words, you are source energy who expresses itself in this physical body, in a physical body on the leading edge of thought, a physical body who gives birth to new ideas and preferences. And when that happens, as always happens when you sift through contrast, the non-physical part of you becomes that. You know how we tell you that 99.99% of every creation is complete before there's any physical evidence of it? Well, that's because the larger part of you immediately becomes one with it. Do you know that if you're having an experience where you recognize that you don't feel as good as you want to, that in the moment of that awareness, you give forth a request that says, I want to feel better, and Source says yes, and Source does not say yes later. Source says yes now. And the non-physical part of you becomes that weller person right now. Do you know that when you don't have enough money and you'd like more money, whether it's a raging desire or a soft desire, that when that desire emanates from you, Source says yes, not later, yes, right now. And the part that we want you to realize is that that non-physical energy essence of you has become that more prosperous being. So what's happening to you through every exposure to every experience that you have is that on a vibrational level, on the non-physical level, on the God source level, you are becoming that expanded being. You are becoming weller, you are becoming wiser, you are becoming more flexible, you are becoming more resilient, you are becoming all of the things that your contrast causes you to ask for. So whether you ever catch up with your own vibrational escrow or not, Source, all that is, has benefited by it. In other words, you are adding enormously to this non-physical and physical expansion. And as you do that, as you move through contrast and as you give birth to desires, the desires become immediately. And the question that we want to pose to you here today is, what are you doing about closing that gap? So we have some answers for you. If you are feeling exhilaration, you've closed the gap. If you're feeling appreciation, you've closed the gap. If you're banging around and you see something you want and you say, oh, I'd really like to have that, or even if you don't say those words, even if what you're saying is, I really don't want this, even though you're saying, I really don't want this, you're giving birth to what you really do want. And as you give birth to what you really do want, it becomes. And as you feel exhilaration, you've closed that gap. As you feel despair, the gap is wide. So what we're really talking about here is vibrational relativity that is so important to understand, because it's the way you understand yourself as energy. In other words, you were long before you were in this body, and you continue to be long after you are not in this body. But while you are in this body, you want to keep up with who you are. And so you can tell that you are closing the gap by the improvement in the way you feel. And you can tell that you're widening the gap by feeling worse. Your emotions let you know. Now, this is the part that you may not remember. So here you are living whatever you're living. And your moment-to-moment experience causes you to give birth to another desire. In other words, you become more. The non-physical part of you becomes more. And then that non-physical part of you, who has now become more because you caused the becoming through your sifting through the contrast, pat yourself on the back, it's important. Now the non-physical part of you is calling you toward what part of you has become. So what you're always listening for is that beckoning call. And you know what it sounds like. It sounds like love. It sounds like joy. It sounds like thrill. It sounds like passion. When you are answering that call, it sounds like the most delicious parts of physical life experience. And when you go toward the light, so to speak, and become one with it, you feel at your very best. That's when you are thriving most, you see. But what if you're living some life experience that has you in despair? What if something has left you feeling powerless? And in that powerless moment, and lots of them that preceded that one, you gave birth to lots of rockets of desire. And so vibrational escrow is over here all bright and shiny and healthy and happy and rich and joyful and connected, calling you. But you're over here in despair. So what does the call sound like to you? Can you even hear the call of joy from your place of despair? Well, we have another question for you. Can you set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM? You can't, can you? Because the frequencies have to match up. That pure positive energy you, that inner being you, that God force you is calling you. And if you're in despair, the call might sound like rage or revenge. Does that surprise you? It does most people, because they think source should sound like harps and angels. And we want you to understand that when you get closer to the vibrational proximity of that which source is, it will get sounding and feeling better and better and better. One of the things that we've noticed about you, we see it with almost all of you, is that sometimes you get yourself into a place where you feel so angry that you think you're going to explode, and then some student of Abraham reminds you that you create your own reality and you shouldn't be behaving like that. And we know you want to say to them, it's not possible that I create my own reality or you'd be dead. Because nothing is more annoying than to be in that place where you are hurting and wanting to feel better and have someone who already feels better reprimand you for not feeling better. And the thing that we so much want you to hear is that the improvement in the way you feel is your indication that you're moving in the right direction. When you are in despair and you find rage or revenge, you have made a step in the right direction up the emotional scale. And we also know that no one can jump from powerlessness all the way into empowerment in one fell swoop. You know, on this emotional scale, how on the end that feels really good, up there with joy and love and appreciation, isn't what really is there is your perception of absolute empowerment and freedom. And on the end that feels like despair and fear, isn't that all about disempowerment? So it turns out that your emotions all along, no matter what word you have used to define them in any given moment, they have always and only ever been, and it's quite enough, your awareness of the vibrational relativity between who you're being right now because of the thought you're thinking and the drum you're beating, and who you have already become as a result of life experience.